John and Ann Horner, on behalf of the citizens of southeastern Indiana, the faculty, alumni, and board of trustees of Hanover College, I present you with this Hanover College Civic Leadership Award in recognition of your lifetime of service to improving Hanover College and the welfare of others. This award reads, in recognition of their contributions to the state of Indiana, to Jefferson County, and to Hanover College, the Hanover College Civic Leadership Award is presented to John and Ann Horner by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Hanover College on this third day of April in the year 2004. Signed, Russell Nichols, President. Let us honor Dr. and Mrs. Horner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nichols. We're grateful to be the recipients of the Leadership Award. And thank you, Mr. Morrow, for your gracious and thoughtful words, some of which are not true, but nonetheless they're appreciated. When Ann Inman asked us to participate in this program, she suggested that we engage in a few reflections or memories of the tornado. But she also put a time limit on these reflections. But if I'm going to speak about the tornado, I am not in uniform. Some of you may remember this Ralph Lauren athletic jacket. It was the one I wore, not on the back steps, Mr. Morrow, but on the terrace of the campus center. And it was on that occasion that obviously we had to reflect what we were going to do that night after the tornado and what we were going to do the next day and in the forthcoming weeks. And of course, as the students know and faculty, that it was necessary for us to begin the spring vacation earlier than anticipated. And so we proceeded to those important announcements. But this jacket was worn on other occasions too, related to the tornado. The trustees in 1987 awarded an honorary degree Doctor of Threads on this jacket. So it did receive some recognition relative to the tornado. Just a thought or two about where I was when the tornado hit. I was in my office dictating to my secretary. And starting to get dark, so I said to Mrs. Cheatham, I think you better call the other Mrs. Cheatham downstairs and find out what's going on. So because she had a little radio, and could listen to the news from Louisville. So he did call, and Mr. Cheatham said that there's a tornado headed this way. Well, I said, how much time do we have? So I said, let's dictate another paragraph. So I said, you're going to dictate it. She said, you're going to dictate it, but I'm not going to be here. So we proceeded to go downstairs with the rest of the staff in the administration building and sat out the tornado. And the only injury we had there, as reflected this morning, one of the young ladies had her hand on the floor and the door closed and injured her hand. But other than that, we escaped injury and death and so on. But is George Lavarchik here today? We were concerned about George. It was reported to me that he had perhaps had a problem. And of course we wanted him to be examined by medical people. But he said he was all right, and I guess he was. So, but the story that came back to me was much more exaggerated than the one reflected in the editorial. One reflected to me was that he had scrapes in his arms and that his entrails had gone to his throat and so on. So I relied on my lieutenants to a degree, but not entirely. Well, so the tornado passed, and we went to the campus center with this jacket, and then proceeded to become the cafeteria for a few days of the area. And one of the reasons we were able to do that, and quite willing to do so, was we had an emergency generator, which other folks did not have. So we were able to provide meals, hot meals, and so on. And it was always interesting to me to see faculty ladling food in the chow line, and administrative officers doing the same thing. And we all kicked in and did what we had to do to survive the moment. Well, it was then necessary for me to get my bosses into the act, the trustees of the college. Now, we had no telephone. So I went up to the village and saw the state trooper and asked him if I could use his phone. And I proceeded to call as many trustees as I could and asked them to call other trustees. And when I called, many of them said, "You're joking about this, aren't you? That the campus is damaged." No, I said, I'm telling the truth. We're in pretty bad shape. But so we set a meeting for the following Saturday morning. And we had to have the meeting in our house. And we didn't have any heat or light or anything else, but we did have a fireplace. And we could keep the place relatively warm with a fireplace. But we also gathered up to all the blankets we could find in the house and coats and so on. And the trustees came down, and we were waiting at the door for them. And as they came in, there was not a dry eye in the group. Not a dry eye in the group. And they said, I thought you were, some of them said, I thought you were fooling. And now you know why. I was not fooling. And so we wrapped them in swaddling clothes and sat down to have a meeting. And there were some very odd-looking people with different sized coats and blankets around them and so on. Well, we had a very far-ranging discussion, ranging from should we close the college, should we just forget about the whole thing, or should we do other things? Finally, the president of the board, chairman of the board, turned to me and said, "Mr. President, do you have a recommendation?" And I said, "I recommend that not only do we repair this college, but we improve it as we go along. Because as you know, we had many more telephone poles on this campus than we have now. They're all over the place. And electric lines, telephone lines, sewer lines, water lines were always installed by sidewalks or roads. And then our ancestors, in their infinite wisdom, would plant trees by sidewalks and roads. So when the trees went over, we had snap, crackle, pop, and everything was gone. But so we put as many things underground as we could in the cleanup, but we didn't plant trees where we put the lines. So we learned a little bit about that. Well, the trustees, I gave my recommendation. The trustees adopted, and off we started on the raising money and getting personnel in. And we went down to Madison and hired every carpenter, painter, electrician, and so on that we could find. Some of my friends in Madison used to say, "You stole all of our people." I said, I bet you we did. And there were a few things of a housekeeping nature that we had to do. With all of the copper disappearing from the roof, Mother Nature could not blow the roof off, but she went up the side of the building and went like a planter's peanut can, as you would open a planter's peanut can. And one of our problems was as soon as that copper left the roof, it was not our property, the property of the insurance company. So we had to gather it up and did put it in there behind the fence in the air field and put a lock on it, a chain, and so on. And some delightful soul decided to back up the pickup truck and try to break it open. Well, we had already contacted the junkmen in the area, saying if anybody comes in with patina copper, let us know, because we want to talk to those folks. So the efforts at theft failed, thank goodness. But we had to engage in housekeeping items like that, as well as getting students ready to leave campus. But as we engaged in that cleanup, it's already been alluded to here, the spirit of cooperation was excellent, outstanding. Often you have kinds of bickering between constituencies on a campus, faculty and students and administration and so on. That disappeared. And we all fought the same battle and tried to do the best job we could. A few weeks after the tornado hit, we decided to try to find a tornado tree, a tree that could be identified as a tornado tree. And we did find one. We wanted to be healthy and strong, and we consulted the professor of botany for him to tell us, well, which one is best. So we identified one and proceeded to call it the tornado tree. And this little plaque was placed at the base of the tree. The plaque reads, "Lest we forget the devastating tornado of April 3, 1974 3:51 p.m. So we had the tree identified and this plaque was installed. 2 years later, a summer thunderstorm appeared on the scene and blew out the top of the tornado tree. And the rest of it had to be destroyed anyway. So that was on a weekend. And Monday morning, the maintenance department went out and rescued the plaque and put it in a box and brought the box to the administration building and put it on my secretary's desk. My secretary took the box, brought it and put it on my desk. And I took the box and put it in my closet in the office. And it remained there until the time of proposed retirement. Somehow, that box with this plaque in it got on the moving van that went from Hanover, Indiana to Durham, North Carolina. And it's been there ever since. So, occasionally we clean the house. And we came upon this in the box. And I said, this doesn't belong here in Durham, North Carolina. It belongs in Hanover, Indiana. So, Mr. President, I'm going to turn this plaque over to you. You can find another tree or...
We will. We will.
We often review in our house the tornado of 1974. We don't review it with great sadness necessarily, but we often review it with underlined with a suggestion that perhaps the college was improved in a number of ways. Not only in a physical way, but in human ways as well. And we were delighted to be a part of that. And hopefully the college is in a reasonably good state of repair now and will not have to have its students and its faculty and support staff experience